And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Davis Ford pregame show. I'm ICC Sports Information Director Adam Gore. Got along beside me is the ICC Foundation Director Jim Ingram. And Jim, we start the countdown to the First American National Bank opening kickoff here between the number 11 ICC Indians and the Hinds Eagles.
You know, last week, Adam, I don't think we were ranked last week.
We were not.
And what a big win, what a great night we had this past Thursday night. And now we're number 11 in the nation. We've got to take care of business, playing a good Hinds team on the road tonight. So we need to be ready, and I know Coach can have them ready.
And, Jim, what a big way for the Indians to open the season with a big-time win, 23-12, over the number 4 team in the country in the Mississippi Gulf Coast Bulldogs.
No doubt about it. Mississippi Gulf Coast is a good football team, but I believe Itawamba Community College has a good football team. We played very well, only had 1 turnover. We were looking at the stats earlier, Adam. We spread the ball around, played 2 quarterbacks, had 21 players make tackles. So we had a lot of depth. A lot of people played for us last Thursday night.
And you got to give a lot of props to the fans that came out, nearly 4,500 packing Eaton Field last Thursday.
It was a super night. You know, we had a great tailgate event led by President Mike Eaton, Dr. Jan Reed Bunch, and Community Relations Department. Had a great tailgate event. Then we went to the ball game. Yes, it was a little hot, but it wasn't too miserable. As we began to get the lead and we found a way to win the game, you know, the weather didn't matter anymore.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to get to here on the Davis Ford pregame show, but before we take a break, we're going to take a look back at some of the scores from Week 1 throughout the league. These scores being brought to you by the Bank of Okolona. Tonight's foe, Hinds, came into the season with the number 19 ranking. They dropped a 40-17 decision to number 10 Northwest. Southwest took care of Coahoma 24-6. Holmes held off a fourth quarter rally to hang on for a 48-40 win over East Central. Northeast beat Pearl Rivers 17-14. Number 7 Colin took care of Mississippi Delta, and then Jones County upset East Mississippi 27-25. The Lions came into the season ranked number 1 in the country. When we come back, we'll preview tonight's matchup between the number 11 ICC Indians and the Hinds Community College Eagles right after this on FM 95 Sports and Let'sGoICCTV.com. Give us a four-side. He fights for it. Does he get in? Yes, he does. Quick ball fake. Ellington fakes it to the outside, then walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Indians.
Looking at a Ram 2500? Try looking at it next to a Ford Super Duty diesel. The 6.7-liter Power-Stroke V8 in Super Duty has best-in-class diesel horsepower and 860 pound-foot of standard torque. Ram 2500 doesn't. With F250 Super Duty, you also get best-in-class diesel fuel economy. Ram 2500 burns more fuel, and Super Duty also gives you more payload. Ram 2500 doesn't have that kind of payoff. Now you can see why, from sunup to sundown, on job sites everywhere, Ford Super Duty owns work.
And welcome back to the Davis Ford pregame show as we shift gears now. And Mr. Jim, we've already talked about the Eagles' loss last week, 40-17 to defending national champions Northwest. So tonight we're going to deal with a ill bunch of Eagles trying to redeem themselves for last week's loss.
No doubt, and they're at home tonight. They lost last week, of course, to the national champions Northwest, and they'll be ready to play tonight. They got a lot of good talent. You know, we've talked about some of their players before. Guidry, an outstanding wide receiver who caught a couple passes last week. Hinds will be ready tonight, and I hope the Indians are.
Absolutely. Of course, you talked about it there. Stephen Guidry, a 6'4", 190-pound wide receiver. He's drawing attention from LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi State. I believe he's committed to LSU. He's going to look to build off his performance of 74 yards and 1 touchdown on 2 catches last week. He's a big-time target, and you figure we're going to see a lot of footballs going his way tonight.
No doubt about it. He's going to be a big-time target. And, Adam, when you play community college football, there's talent on every team.
Absolutely.
And we know Hinds has a good football team. They failed last week, but they'll be ready tonight at home, so we better be ready.
Now, quarterback Micah Sanders threw for 274 yards on 15 of 36 passing with 1 touchdown, 1 interception that was returned for a touchdown. But the Eagles need to look to try to get their running game started this week. They only rushed for 29 yards on 28 carries. If they can get that running game going, to help take a lot of pressure off Xanders in the passing attack.
No doubt, if they get the running game going, Xander and Guidry can get it going, but that's where we've got to stop them again. And I was so pleased with the depth last week as we played. We mentioned in the first half, we had 6 middle linebackers playing early in the ball game. We mentioned there's 21 players that made tackles. Our defense has got to play another good game.
Absolutely. Defensively, the Eagles gave up 410 yards of total offense, 212 yards, 3 touchdowns rushing, and 198 yards, 1 touchdown passing. The Indians are going to need another balanced offensive attack this week if they hope to move to 2-0 in the season.
No doubt. We need to be balanced, need to run the football. You know, Dan Ellington did a great job throwing and running the football. He's the difference in the game. His legs, I believe. Bender played well. He threw for over 100 yards, was throwing for over 60% of his passes. We got 2 good quarterbacks, but we have to run the football also that offset, make sure our quarterbacks get to play well.
Absolutely. 4 or 5 different players got to carry the ball last week for the Indians in their offensive attack. Earlier this week, Video's operations coordinator Raphael Henry had a chance to talk with head coach Sean Cannon about last week's matchup, or I should say last week's win over the number 4 team in the country, Gulf Coast, and he previewed tonight's matchup against the Eagles. We'll take a look at that and talk about some of the keys to victory as we step inside Coach's Corner, brought to you by our friends at the ICC Baptist Student Union.
All right, Coach. Big win against number 4 Gulf Coast last week. An exciting way to open the season.
Yeah, it really was. You know, I thought our kids come out and played hard, you know, and kind of set the tone early in the game, you know, and I thought that was the biggest key of the game is getting up, 17-0 as quickly as we did, and you know, and then had the late touchdown there to kind of seal the game for us. But real proud of our kids' effort, you know, especially after the first game.
All right, freshman quarterback Dan Ellington broke onto the scene in a big way, throwing for 156 yards and a touchdown and 4 of 19 passing, and rushed for 109 yards and 1 TD and with 13 carries. Just talk about the way he played.
You know, really surprised us as a coaching staff. You know, we really thought that, you know, that he was a talented player, but I thought he really played with, you know, very calm out there. You know, we had a couple of botch snaps that he picked up off the ground and act like it never bothered him, you know, but it was really good to see, you know, him come out and perform the way he did, you know, especially against a good football team there.
All right, and talk about your defense. They held the Gulf Coast to 169 yards. Just talk about the way those guys played.
You know, a lot of things Gulf Coast did, you know, we worked on during preseason camp. You know, they came out and did a little bit of different things. So our kids adjusted well. You know, we felt like if we could get them into 3rd and long, that we had a chance to, you know, get some pressure on the quarterback, and we did that. You know, forced a 1 turnover there coming out, and they were coming out of the end zone down here, and you know, and that was always good. But you know, we eliminated the big play, and that was always key in your first game to do that. So real proud of their effort, and being able to get off the field on 3rd down was real key for us.
All right. I know you guys enjoyed the victory, but it's back to business this week as you hit the road to go to Hinds. Tell us what you know about the Eagles.
You know, really talented football team. Looks like they got a lot of great players on film that we've looked at this week in their first game against Northwest. You know, kind of shot themselves in the foot. You know, had a pick 6 for a touchdown, had a fumble inside their own 10 that Northwest scooped and scored. They dropped a few punt returns there in you know, deep in their territory. So you take away those plays, and that ball game's real different. You know, real exciting quarterback. He moves around good. He got a really good, talented receiver, and you know, defensively, give you a lot of different looks, and that's always tough for an offense to prepare for, giving those different looks.
All right. Coach, what's the Bank of Oklahoma keys to victory?
Well, you know, the biggest thing I think this week is, you know, when we talk to our kids about being the most physical team, you know, and that's really week in and week out, but especially this week because this team will be a different football team than we saw on film. You know, I kind of talked about our Jones game last year, how, you know, Northwest had pretty much had their way with Jones, and then Jones came in here the second week of the season, and we had a dogfight on our hands, you know. So, but I've tried to prepare the kids this week to know that team is going to be a lot different for us than what we've seen. Got got to keep protecting the football. I think that's always key every week, and we got to make our plays. We got to make our plays in the passing game. Got to continue to have drives on offense. Got to get off field on defense on third down. So if I'd say, those are pretty much our weekly keys every week. But and we can't give up the big play. That's one thing Hinds tries to do. They try to get you in the big play in the passing game. So we got to make sure we keep the ball in front of us, make tackles, and force them into making mistakes.
All right. Another challenge, hitting the road for the first time for some of these freshmen. Just talk about getting those guys ready for the first time for your first road game of the year.
Yeah, a little bit different challenge than playing week one at home. Now you got to get on the road, so you got to make sure everything's packed up and you forget anything and all those things. We're going down to eat a pregame meal and kind of have that little bit of downtime more than here. They just kind of come down from the cafeteria and kind of have a place to kind of relax. But and being our first road game, there's always challenges in that. But I think our kids are mature enough now to hopefully be able to handle that without a glitch.
All right, thanks, Coach. But is there anything else that you want to share before we leave?
Well, it was really good to get that first win last week, and have our kids to have some success, and hopefully we'll build on that this second week coming up against Hinds, and then be able to continue that momentum throughout the whole season.
Thanks for taking time with us, Coach. Good luck, and let's go beat the Eagles.
That's right.
Gore, Mr. Jim, back to you.
Well, Mr. Jim, you heard Coach Cannon's keys to victory. Of course, those keys to victory being brought to us by John Harrod and Company at the Bank of Okolona. Now, what are some of your keys to victory for the Indians to move to 2-0 tonight with a victory over Hinds?
Well, I agree with what Coach Cannon's saying. Two things that jump out at me is, one, turnovers. We talk about that every week, but it's so important.
Yes.
We cannot turn the ball over. We turned it over once last week, which is pretty good for the first ball game. The other thing is special teams. And last week, Rip Kirk did an outstanding job. I think he punted twice for over 45-yard average. We know Zach Ellis is good. He was nicked up a little bit last week. He did miss a couple of field goals, but we know he can nail them. We have a good special teams unit, and we got to continue to play well. So turnovers and special teams is big tonight.
And those are the keys to victory through the eyes of Coach Sean Cannon and Coach Jim Ingram, brought to you by the Bank of Okolona. Before we take a break, let's take a look at some of the other matchups going on around the league tonight. Of course, we'll have you some scoreboard updates being brought to you by the Bank of Okolona throughout the night. Coahoma is at number 4, Colin. Northeast will travel to East Central. Number 12, East Mississippi, will be at number 17, Gulf Coast. Southwest will travel to Holmes. Number 15, Jones County, will be at Mississippi Delta. And Pearl River will travel to number 6 and defending national champion Northwest. And that will be the other action going on throughout the league tonight across the state. We'll have you some Bank of Okolona scoreboard updates throughout tonight's broadcast. We'll be back with more of the Davis Ford pregame show on FM 95 Sports, as well as Let'sGoICCTV.com right after this.
Little Caesars, home of the $5 Hot and Ready Classic, is driving your taste buds crazy with our new loaded Crazy Bread Bites for just $4. We start with our world-famous Crazy Bread, cut into delicious bite-sized pieces. Then we amp up the flavor with creamy cheddar cheese sauce, mozzarella and Munster cheese, and tasty applewood bacon, all baked to perfection. Need more kick? We've added a side of jalapenos. Try our loaded Crazy Bread Bites for just $4, only at Little Caesars.
Pizza. Hi, I'm Adam. And all my life I've been considered a pretty lucky guy.
On the house.
Ah, thanks. For starters, I get upgrades everywhere I go. And I just win things like all the time.
And the winner is this guy.
But you're not this lucky. No one is. So talk to a Farm Bureau agent today, because when it comes to your coverage, luck should have nothing to do with it.
Thanks for this Oreo caramel shake, Kara.
Caramel for Kara. That makes sense.
And Janine for peanut butter.
I don't get it. Why?
Because she reminds me of my ex-girlfriend, Janine, who was nuts.
23 real ice cream shakes, all half price after 8 p.m. This is how you Sonic.
You're looking at a Ram 2500? Try looking at it next to a Ford Super Duty diesel. The 6.7-liter Power Stroke V8 in Super Duty has best-in-class diesel horsepower, an 860 pound-foot of standard torque. Ram 2500 doesn't. With F250 Super Duty, you also get best-in-class diesel fuel economy. Ram 2500 burns more fuel. And Super Duty also gives you more payload. Ram 2500 doesn't have that kind of payoff. Now you can see why, from sunup to sundown, on job sites everywhere. Ford Super Duty owns work.
And welcome back to the Davis Ford pregame show as we continue the countdown, or that First American National Bank countdown to the opening kickoff here between your number 11 ICC Indians and the Hinds Eagles. And it's time to take a look at the Coca-Cola starting lineups. We did it last week. We're going to do it again this week. A very unique feature thanks to Lee Adams and Raphael Henry for putting this together for us. Instead of us talking about the Coca-Cola starting lineups, we're going to let the guys introduce themselves this week. These Coca-Cola starting lineups being brought to you by Buddy Long and the Northeast Mississippi Coca-Cola bottlers.
Dan Ellington, quarterback, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Center Hill High School.
Altaze Matthews, running back for Stevenson, Alabama, North Jackson High School.
Terry Williams, wide receiver, South Mississippi, South High School.
Duntavius Bruce, wide receiver, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Olive Branch High School.
Dorian Gaston, wide receiver, Ripley, Mississippi, Ripley High School.
Isaiah Howard, wide receiver, Ripley, Mississippi, Ripley High School.
Abraham Austin, offensive line, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Olive Branch High School.
DeMarcus Shaw, offensive line, Batesville, Mississippi, South North High.
Jabarius Little, offensive line, Corn Lake, Mississippi, Corn Lake High School.
Brendan McCormick, offensive line, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Lewisburg High School.
Preston Haynes, offensive line, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Lewisburg High School.
Cody Shelton, outside linebacker, Ripley, Mississippi, Ripley High School.
Tyler Logan, linebacker, West Point, Mississippi, West Point High School.
Camden Elwood, outside linebacker, Batesville, Mississippi, South North High School.
Devontae Marvel, defensive back, Houston, Mississippi, Houston High School.
Donald Fuller, defensive back, Batesville, Mississippi, South North High School.
Deion Knox, defensive back, Grenada, Mississippi, Grenada High School.
Quincy Hood, safety, Hamilton, Mississippi, Hamilton High School.
Kenny Wooten, defensive end, Meridian, Mississippi, Meridian High School.
Travis Seiler, defensive end, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Cecil Valley High School.
Malik Steele, defensive tackle, Gordon, Alabama, Gordon High School.
Lee Archer, defensive tackle, Albemarle, North Carolina, Albemarle High School.
Zach Ellis, kicker, Tupelo, Mississippi, Tupelo High School.
Matthew Stewart, long snapper, Tulsa, Mississippi, Tulsa High School.
And Jim, we're just moments away from that First American National Bank opening kickoff here on FM 95 Sports, as well as Let's Go ICCTV.com. I got to say this, record number of viewers last week on Let's Go ICC TV between the soccer match and the football game. 3 matches, we had over 3,000 people tuning in to ICC Athletics here, and that's big.
That's very big, and we have an outstanding family and friends that follow ICC, and we appreciate everybody out there following us tonight on the football game. Looking forward to kicking off here in a few minutes.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, your final thoughts before we kick things off.
Well, we're on the road. Stay with your game plan. We know it worked last week. Stay with your game plan. You might face some adversity during the game, but have faith in your teammates, have faith in your coaches. Let's find a way to win.
Absolutely. So hopefully the Indians will move to 2-0 on the season with the victory tonight over Hinds. Stay tuned as we'll have the First American National Bank opening kickoff right here on FM 95 Sports and Let's Go ICCTV.com.
Across our state, in places far and wide, we speak a common language that unites, inspires, and defines us all with only 3 letters. ICC.
I am 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 ICC.
Itawamba Community College, transforming lives, transforming Mississippi.
Hey, brother, there's an endless road to rediscover. Hey, brother, know the wild and sweet